won't be the first tracker sent in pursuit of this imposter Mantis.
Today's not your day. Wrong place, wrong time. Shit. It's the Mantis! Mantis! Yeah, right. Scanning. Damn it! Speed up the drive!
But if all goes well, you will be the last.
Just try and escape.
Leave no quarter, show no mercy.
Services tech is in the hut up at the front, if you need him.
What's up, shipbuilders? Now, I think this might be flying a bit under the radar with the new Freelanes update and Terran Armada DLC, but there's a new Mantis quest as part of the Trackers Alliance update that was released just prior to these ones, and while I won't spoil the quest for you, I am going to spoil one of the rewards. You get a new ship, and it has a brand new unique ship part that you can't find anywhere else. Plus, it's one of the best early free ships in the entire game. It's much better than the original Mantis Razorleaf. It's nearly as good as the Star Eagle from the Freestar questline. So we're going to break down what makes this such a good early game ship, and then how to upgrade it, step by step. Finally, I'll show you the version that I fly, so I made some special modifications myself. Now, before we dive in, as we progress, in order to use some of these parts that we're going to work towards, you'll need to increase your character's level, as well as both their piloting skill to fly Class B or Class C ships, and their starship design skill to access better ship parts. So I'll outline the necessary skill levels for each part as we progress. But let's take a look at what we're starting with. So first, the Reactor. Now this Reactor, the 380T, gives you 26 power points, Class A. Not too bad for an early game reactor, and just a little over 700 hull points, which act as your HP or your health points for your ship. Next, that experimental, unique part I was alluding to, the R5000 Alpha Grav Drive. Now, in this Relodyne series of grav drives, it has only gone up to R4000, but now we have an R5000. So what's so special about it? Well, for a grav drive, all you really need is to have enough jump thrust to get you at least 28 light years of jump range, as that's the farthest distance between any two star systems. So you want the lowest mass in order to do that. This grav drive has 35 jump thrust, which is incredibly high given its low mass. In fact, it has one of the best jump thrust to mass ratios of any grav drive in the entire game. What that effectively allows us to do is we don't have to upgrade our grav drive, and we're going to save on mass as we progress and make our ship even heavier. We don't have to add more mass as a result of our grav drive upgrades. So that's really what we're going to be saving here. But I've also found it just interesting that we have a new unique piece. Next, our shield. For a shield, we want high shield health, we want a decent regen rate, and a low mass. Now, I've got some perks on this right now on my character, but for this Marduk 1040A shield, what you're typically looking at a base level is 760 shield health and 10% regen rate. So that's the highest regen rate. And then shield health, 760, that's actually pretty decent for an early game shield. This is the same shield on the Star Eagle, and it would require typically you be level 46 and have Starship Design rank 4. So to have it right away is a huge benefit. So it's going to be a bit before we upgrade our shield on this ship. Next, engines. This has some of the best engines in the entire game, full stop. The Slayton SA 4330s, pound for pound, are some of the best in the entire game. They have Class A top speed, which is the highest top speed other than the White Dwarf 3015s. And they also move more mass over and above their own mass than almost any other engine in the game, which is the key stat for engines that you want to pay attention to. The only drawback here is that we only have 2 of them, and you're not going to be a high enough level for quite a while in order to add more. So we may consider upgrading these to something different, mainly the White Dwarf 3015s, but that'll be a personal decision. Last but not least, our weapons. We do have 2 EM weapons here, EMP 200s, which are fine, middle of the road for some EM weapons. And then we have a couple particle beams, the Disruptor 3300s and some PB30s. Not my favorite for low-level weapons. This will be one of our first upgrades. And if you've been here before, you know what I'm going to put on this immediately, but we'll get there in a second. Because the first upgrade that we're going to do doesn't involve really any new ship parts or really any character level. We're just going to increase the amount of crew slots on our ship. So to do that, I'm going to take this Captain's Quarters hab. You could also take the Armory on the bottom, your choice. And I'm going to change it to be a control station, which will get you additional crew slots. So that'll get us up to 5, which is important because your crew provides a big boost to your ship's capabilities. And so if you haven't looked at this yet, let's dive in. On my crew, I typically have the following, plus or minus a couple I'll mention. Andrasia, because she boosts energy weapon system skills, which is going to improve one of our weapons that we'll put on in a second. Andromeda Kepler for her aneutronic fusion skill. Vasco will also give you this, but Vasco takes up too much space on your ship and gets in the way, so I usually go with Andromeda. That skill, the aneutronic fusion, gives you 1 extra power point you can use wherever you want. Barrett, Starship Engineering, and Particle Beam Weapons. So Particle Beam Weapons is self-explanatory, but Starship Engineering helps you repair damaged parts faster. Omari gives you a boost to your shields as well as 1 extra power point on your shields. And Sam, one of the most important, gives you 1 extra power point on engines and also increases your top speed, which when paired with the White Dwarf 3015s makes you so fast you can boost away from enemies and recharge your shields, making you nearly invincible. Finally, Sarah, and one of the reasons really the only reason you'd probably have Sarah on your crew is if you need more fuel per grav jump. She reduces the required fuel amount per grav jump, and she doesn't take up a crew slot, which makes it easy to put her on the ship if you need it and take her off if you don't. Alright, that completes our first upgrade. Upgrade number 2, we're going to actually put on one of the best weapons in the entire game. And you only have to be level 1. So to get these weapons, you do have to complete the first quest of the Vanguard quest line called Grunt Work, and then they should be available at your local ship technician. Plus, this quest also contains a piloting simulator, which you can replay as many times as you want to easily and quickly level up your piloting skill without risk of dying. Now, these are some of the best weapons in the entire game, both because they benefit from the energy weapon system skill and the particle beam weapon system skill, plus they're what's called auto weapons, which means they come with a full magazine that they fire before they have to reload, which means you can underpower them and you'll still get their full burst damage output. So you don't have to fully power these to get their full burst damage. And because you can put 6 of them on your ship, that's a lot of damage output. So I put these on, and we're going to keep these on for the rest of the game. These weapons just obliterate, as they say, any other ship out there. Alright, that's the first weapon upgrade. Now, before we move on, looking at these PB-30s, there's actually a slightly better weapon you could put on that'll, just make you that much more powerful if you want to. If you don't want to spend the money, totally fine. this isn't really going to make a huge difference, but there is a better weapon. So instead of these PB30s, we could take a look at the PB30 autos or the PB40 autos. Now the main difference here is going to be the PB40 autos require you to be a much higher level, whereas PB30s, sorry, the PBO 30s, you only have to be level 12. But again, being the auto variant of these weapons, you're going to start with a full magazine regardless of how much you power them up. And given early game reactors don't have a ton of power, it can be better to go with these and to make sure you put on as many of them as you can, which in this case you can have up to 4. So we're going to go ahead and put 4 of these on, just to make sure we're doing as much damage output as we can. Now I, for some reason in my ship builder, have to clone from a kind of undocked weapon. So do that this way. And we'll get all 4 of them on. And we'll go ahead and assign it. That brings us to our 3rd upgrade. We've alluded to it already, engines. And with all these upgrades, it's a personal preference if you want to get rid of those SA 4330s and want to go to these White Dwarf 3015s. To get these 3015s, you need to be at least character level 24 and have Starship Design rank 4, which for a character level of 24 might be a little bit of a stretch if you're going to pour 4 points into Starship Design that early in the game. So these may come a bit later for you, but again, the special thing about these, you'll see my top speed just increased to 180. So these are the fastest engines in the game by far, and like I said earlier, if you have Sam Coe on your crew, that boosts your top speed even more, so much so that when you boost away, you can boost away so fast and so far that enemy ships won't be able to still target you, and you can recharge your shields. We're going to use the Nova engine struts just to help us get a couple more on there. And then if we select another part and just toggle a color left and right, that gives us that color in our palette. And so we can color these to match. Just like that. Now this is looking like a formidable ship. Alright, let's look at our next upgrade. This upgrade is going to be to our reactor. And for this, we're going to need to be a bit higher level. So our previous reactor, 26 power points, again, really good for an early game ship. But for our next one, we want not only more power, but we want a higher class, because the class of your reactor governs what ship parts you can put on your ship. So I'll say that again. With a class B reactor, you can put both class A and class B parts on your ship. With a Class C reactor, you can put Class A, B, and C parts on your ship. So we're going to try and get up to a Class C, and to make that fit on this ship, we're going to swap out some fuel just to give us a bit more space, because Class C reactors are typically much bigger. So we're going to go ahead and grab this 500T helium-3 tank, which again, if this doesn't give you enough fuel for your grav jumps, you can put Sarah on your crew. You can also put additional fuel on this ship, which is totally fine. Just find a way to attach it. So I'm going to delete that giant fuel tank in the back, and that's where we're going to stick our reactor. And our reactor specifically is going to be that Fuser DC 402, which I got to find it again. And for this, you'll need to be level 38, piloting skill rank 4, Starship Design rank 2, but it's going to give us a lot more power points. 34, in fact. And at this point, now that we have a Class C reactor, all ship parts are going to be available for us to use, or I should say not restricted by our class. It'll still be restricted by level, which means we should start looking at shields. Now there's 3 shields we could look at. The Assurance SG-1800 shield, which has the highest shield health in the game, but also one of the heaviest masses of any ship, which hurts engine performance. The 28T Defender, which has 100 points less of shield health at 1500, but much lower mass at 90 and a bit higher regen rate, 7%. Or the Vanguard Bulwark shield, which is kind of that Goldilocks happy middle. 1450 shield health, so just slightly less, and 6% regen rate, but 70 mass compared to much higher on the other two. Now, your choice, again, which you want to go with, And it's going to come down to, again, mass of your overall ship. But for this case, we're going to go with the Vanguard Bulwark Shield just to save on mass, and because it's available immediately once you've done that Vanguard Gruntwork quest. And now for our next upgrade, we're getting into the top tier, top shelf upgrades. For these, you're going to need to be at least character level 60 in most cases and have top starship design and piloting skills. Weapons, the Exterminator 95 MEV Auto Helion Beams. Next to the Vanguard Obliterators, these are some of the best particle beam weapons in the entire game, alongside the PBO 175 Auto Helion Beams. If you have all three of these on your ship, all three of these different particle beams, it's not even fair. For this ship, because we do have some EM weapons, I think it'd be fun to look at what might be just the best EM weapon instead. If I can find it, scroll up a little more. And we'll keep this in our third weapon slot, the Nullifier 1750s. So these do the most EM damage, burst and sustained together, of any EM weapon once you've got them fully equipped. So we're going to put some of these on instead. And then for the particle beams, we may just go with the PBOs for symmetry for now. But again, go with whatever you want. And for all of these ship stats, keep in mind you can reference my shipbuilder spreadsheet, which I will link to that video, which has a link to the spreadsheet in it. Put in your character level, your specific tech skills, and it will tell you the best ship parts that are available to you and where to find them. Alright, let's put on 4 of these PBO 175s and just deleted out all of the old PBO 30s. So a true upgrade here that we're using. And you can fit up to 4 of these PBO 175s, which again, because they're the auto version, you absolutely should, otherwise you're just missing out on the burst damage per second that you could otherwise be earning. And we'll put our EM weapons in that third weapon slot. Alright, at this point, we should consider whether or not you want those SA-4330 engines or not. If you didn't put the White Dwarfs on, now would be the time to add more SA-4330s, because you need to be at least character level 43 and have Starship Design rank 4. Now, one thing I really like about these engines is that in this middle variant, because they have 6 different flipped variants, you can fit it into a 1x1 hab slot, typically. I don't know why that's not working. I guess maybe the grav drive sticks out a little bit there. Let's, in order to show this to you, this works in most all cases. Let's find a good 1x1 slot where this could fit. So like right here underneath, that Deimos hole piece, if we just get rid of that, for example. Here, let's get rid of this one, get the connect point on the side. This should fit right in between those two Deimos bellies, just like that. And so we're not glitching it, it's not modded, it just actually slots in right there. Which can be a nice way to get additional engine thrust, but to keep the aesthetic of your ship. Now it still says I have an error, unattached modules, select all. Okay, that side's not connected, so that Deimos hole piece, I deleted it and it needs to get put back. So again, consider the SA-4330s. It will allow you to have a bit more cargo space and keep that top engine performance. Now, for our final upgrade, we're going to look at our reactor one last time. And as with all of these decisions, you have choices. We could go with the 104DS mag reactor, 39 power points, the maximum of it is 40. This is a Class B reactor, which means its mass is pretty low, given all those power points. Or you could go with the SF-40 sheared flow, Class C, gets you that max 40 power points. Or the Pinch 8Z, which again gives you the max 40 power points and a few more hull points or HP at the cost of a few more mass. Or my personal favorite, the Pinch 8A reactor. Now this is only 36 power points, but the hull value or your HP is almost 50% higher than the Pitch 8A at 1,950, which is why I like it so much, because it gives you so much extra health. So I'm going to go with that. Again, personal choice, which one you want, but this is my favorite reactor in the game. So we're going to swap that in, and that completes our upgrade path. What you now have is the most powerful combat ship in the entire game. Now, before we take a look at my personal version with just some extra structural pieces and flare, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside, since that's basically unchanged from our initial just kind of 2-hab layout. Let's maybe get this out of the way. Overall, it's a pretty good looking ship for just a kind of standard in-game ship. For the habs, if you head towards the back, you do have a ladder. Come down into the armory and the docker on the bottom. Again, we swapped out this 2x1 for the control station to get more crew stations. And then our cockpit. Simple little ship, easy to navigate, but given with our upgrades, the most powerful ship in the known universe. And this is the version I fly. Statistically, it's very, very similar. But aesthetically, I might have taken some liberties. Now, I wanted a shape that approximated the Mantis. I mean, Batman has, the bat. The Mantis should look like a Mantis. So I want those front, intimidating head and pinchers, and I want an abdomen. I want the whole thing. But again, ship module wise, it's basically the same. Pinch 8A reactor, same experimental grav drive. The shield, I did end up going with the SG 1800 shield just for fun and to get that extra shield health, and because I've got a few other parts that lower my mass, actually, that we'll talk about in a minute. The White Dwarf 3015s to get that max top speed. I did keep the nullifier EM weapons. I swapped out the PBO 175s for the Exterminator 95 MEVs because technically the Exterminators are slightly better. And with this new cockpit that we have, I just kind of liked mounting weapons to it. But I did keep the Vanguard Obliterator auto projectors. Those amazing weapons that you can get right at the beginning of the game. So like I said, overall, statistically, basically the same. But there are a few slight modifications with these new Free Lanes and Terran Armada, kind of special unique equipment pieces that I did put on this ship to make it even better. So I'm going to walk you through how I converted that Orchid ship to this one, step by step, piece by piece. But for some of these pieces, you're going to have to travel around the settled systems. And thankfully, there's a new way to do that. If you're in this kind of navigation map, and you push the kind of mission or the database button, you can go over to your locations and you can find any location that you want. So if you wanted to go to Titan, to New Homestead, to get the new Nova Galactic ship parts, like the cockpit, the 2x2 habs, it takes you right there automatically. I just pushed the button on Titan and it took me there. I didn't have to do anything else. Or let's say we want to go to New Homestead, to Hopetown. Sorry, to get that crazy big landing gear or some of the special hab spine pieces. Just select Hopetown on the settled tab, and it'll take you right there. So in the video description, I have written out all the different ship parts that you need and where to find them, so you can go do your shopping. But we're going to build it all right here, right now. To start, I had to use the new cockpit. I mean, of course. And it is beautiful, as we'll see in our interior walkthrough in a little bit. I also really wanted to try to use the new 2x2x2, or sorry, 2x1x2 halves with the stairs. My goal for this ship is to have no ladders. None. So I'm going to do some things to try and force it to have no ladders. But I also want to use these new two tall halves, and I didn't want it to be a brick shape, which these are incredibly brick shaped. So with this cockpit, you do have connection points on the side. And there's one on the back too, but how do we make sure there's no ladder if we do this? So I'm using this Hope Tech hab spine, which is basically like a tunnel. And so that will come off the back of the cockpit, and that will go into a 2x1 eventually, just to make sure that there's no ladders. Now there is a place doors yourself mod that you could use, but we're not using mods, so that's why I'm forcing it. So you have to get that hab spine from Hopetown. Now on either side of these 2x1x2s, I'm going to put these Deimos Wing A pieces, one forward and one flipped backward. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. These are just structural pieces. For most all these pieces, you can build these or find these at your Outpost Landing Pad kind of shipbuilder menu. It's really just those kind of new Nova Galactic pieces, and then some of those Hopetown pieces you need to go to the specific shipyards for. And then the Reactor and some of the high-tiered weapons, I will also go to Stroud-Eklund Star Yard to buy those. So we'll go buy them, kind of Frankenstein them on your ship, and then complete the build at your Outpost Landing Pad. So we do have our landing bay facing forward. We'll come into the 1x1. Doors coming to the port and starboard side, but no ladder because of that hab spine just above the 1x1. And from here, instead of just like some kind of engine strut or wing pieces to the side, might as well get some extra habs. So I'm going to use these Nova cross passages to go into some 2x1s for kind of like my arms or my pinchers. And you can choose whatever habs you like, whatever you want, whatever ship kind of manufacturer you like. I like the Nova Galactic living quarters for the 2x1. It does have a bed, it has a kitchen, it has a bathroom, so that seems like it should be a living quarters. Some of the living quarters actually don't have those things, so that's why I chose that one. I'm going to take this wing piece, or some of these pieces from the original ship, and use some of them, but I'm going to delete a lot of them too. Keep one of those out. And our engines will just go on the back of that 2x1. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our grav drive. Put that in front of the 2x1. And this Nova cowling will go in front of that. Let's delete that thruster array. We don't need that. Now we should still have, yep, 2 of our Vanguard obliterators underneath. So we'll keep those on there. We're going to take this shielded cargo, put it on the back of that Deimos wing. And then, let's see. We do need, this is more for aesthetic reasons, we don't need the extra landing thrust. I'm going to get this pinpoint 3G landing gear. Now if this isn't available in your ship Outpost Landing Pad, you can go to Tayo Astroneering on Neon to get that landing gear. I just like the look of it on the side, and when you're flying, you wouldn't have to have that. You could put more of the Deimos wings or something else on the side to kind of get that rounded shape. Completely up to you. And then we're going to get, before I forget, scrolling down, this new Nova Cowling B piece. Because in front of that, we can fit on the equipment tab an antenna. Now there are slightly better versions of the antenna. which you can get have 20% increase to scan range. You'll have to be at one of those Nova Galactic ship vendors to get that. So I actually end up going there and putting that on my final version of the ship, but for now, we'll just put that 10% version on. And then on the other side, I'm going to go with a Stroud workshop. I like this workshop because it has all the different workbenches, plus a research station. And then same thing, move this out of the way, delete those parts we don't need. Move it back a little more. I'm going to use some of these pieces, like this Nova radiator. It's a structural piece. Our engines on the back of that 2x1. Let's keep one of these nullifiers out. We'll move our cargo to the back of that Deimos wing. And then let's go ahead and grab our fuel tank. We'll bring that in front of this 2x1. And put our Nova cowling in front of that. Get rid of that thruster. Let's go ahead and select and copy our pinpoint landing gear, flip it, and put our nullifier back on top. All right, starting to take shape. And before I forget, an aesthetic item for the front of the ship. These portholes on the bottom of these 2x1x2s, and then I just put this porthole right here on this connector. You don't have to. You can't actually see it from the inside. I just think from the outside it makes it look a little cleaner, but it does take up one mass point, so you might not want to use it on that. Now we can fit a bit more cargo. We can go with these 200 non-shielded versions on either side of those 2x1x2s. And from there, let's flip around and take care of the body of our Mantis. So coming back kind of aft from the cockpit, we've got that HopeTech Hab spine. And we may save that scan generator. We may use a better one. We'll see. Again, you can use whatever 2x1 you want. You could use that Stroud one. I'm going to go ahead and use Tayo Habs here, just because I kind of like their rounded look. So I'm going to use the top versions. Again, I want a control station, and then I want an armory. But I have the top A version here. We actually want the top B version, which you'll see has connectors on the sides. So that's what we want, top B. So we'll get the control station off the top B, and we'll go armory, top B, just like that. Then let's select these Deimos wings, and we're going to copy them. Bring them over, copy those, bring them over. Now we're starting to get the body of our Mantis. We're nearly there. We just need to bring our reactor over, and we can delete the rest of these parts. We do need the docker, because we don't have one attached yet, so we're going to grab that. It's going to go underneath on that 1x1, where we walk straight in from the landing bay. So docker and landing bay are right next to each other. And from here, let's put our shield on. SG-1800, that'll go on the top of our cockpit. And you could put the docker there, but then you'd have to find another place for that shield. And then we need, just to make the body of the Mantis a little bit bigger. So get these Nova cowlings, copy and flip them. We'll do the same thing on the underneath. And then we need some landing gear on either side of our reactor. Again, this landing gear is overkill for this ship. I just kind of liked how it looked. You may not. You may want to do something totally different. I thought it was a little bit unique. And then instead of this scan jammer, let's go ahead and get the better one because we have access to it. So we'll do the multi-frequency. And I like to hide these equipment pieces under these Deimos wings. So with the new updates in DLC, you can get access to these new equipment pieces. We talked about these in our recent video, and it's, again, we may as well use them, particularly those buoyancy. That buoyancy piece really reduces our ship mass, which helps our engine performance, lets us get more cargo, more pieces on our ship. You don't have to use these pieces. The ship will fly just fine without them. It's just kind of fun to use them. And then that conduction grid, you get some of those from the pirate quest line. Now, like I said, I'm going to hide these kind of on the underside of those Deimos wings. Actually, let's put this buoyant insulators above that Nova Cross section because that is a little bit tighter space. Alright, now we're nearly there. We are missing our Exterminator 95 MEV auto helium beams. So let's go to our weapons and scroll down. Again, Stroud Eklund Star Yard will have these if you don't know where to find them. That's in the Narion system. And we want the 95 auto version. And you can have up to 3 of these. So you put these on either side of the cockpit, you can actually see them because there's little windows around those little circular pieces. And one on the top. Now a couple more little cosmetic things before we're done. These are completely optional, as is frankly all of this build. On the back of these 2x1x2s, I'm going to go ahead and put some windows, just because I like to be able to look out of the ship. And particularly with the new cruise mode, it's pretty cool to be able to look out of your ship while you're cruising along. Same thing, I'm going to put some of these portholes on the top of either side of the 2x1s, just like that. Now we still have about 8 mass points that we could play with if you wanted to. Again, totally up to you. But that more or less completes this ship, other than a nice coat of paint, which, again, if you want to use the colors that you already have, go ahead and select it, toggle left, right, and that will put those colors in your palette. So I'm just going to quickly select the whole thing. Maybe do some... I don't want a ton of that kind of yellowish orange color. So we're going to make this mostly black. And obviously, you can do whatever you want here. I'll just do this quickly, so that it's at least somewhat coherent. But that'll basically do it for this build, other than our interior walkthrough. And again, use these in my other videos as guides. You don't have to follow them exactly. Hopefully they inspire you, and hopefully they show you some interesting ship parts and the statistics behind them. This is quite an imposing ship on a landing pad, both wide and long. But I do really like the interior, because again, no ladders. So when you come in, you've got doors to the left or the right, stairs up to the cockpit if you want to, or through these Nova Cross passages. Here's our living quarters. We got our workout area, our bedroom, our bathrooms in the far corner here, kitchen, and then on the other side, oh wait, window first, of course. On the other side, similar. We'll go through this door. We've got our 2x1x2 with our stairs. And then through this cross passage, we've got our workshop. Just really easy to move around, no ladders in our way. Again, we've got all the workbenches that we could possibly want, spacesuit, weapons, etc. And then we've got stairs. So we're looking out the front of the ship. Now back. Those new halves aren't too bad. Put a little decoration up. We'll look at the cockpit in just a second. Here's the door to the other side with the stairs. And then that half spine, which is back into our control station. And our armory, which has a brig, which is why one of the reasons I like this Tayo armory. And last but certainly not least, let's look at this new cockpit. A ton of space. This game can be incredibly pretty sometimes. Again, you can look out at your weapons. It's going to be a beautiful ship to go cruising through the galaxy with. You've got a cargo hold right here. Hope you enjoy this ship. Until next time, keep building.